बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। अस्सलाम वालेकुम स्टूडेंट्स, आज हम बायोलॉजी का चैप्टर नंबर 4 रिवाइज करेंगे। द मेजर टॉपिक इज़ cells and tissues and the topic is animal tissues. Animals like plants have level of organizations. In this chapter we begin at the level of cells. The same type of cells form a tissue and different types of tissues make up of organs. Several organs are found within organ system and organ system make up the organism, and hence we may say that an organism formation takes place. Note that the structure and function of an organ system are dependent upon the structure and function of the organ, tissue and cell type contained therein. For example, the structure and function of skeletal systems are the same as that of the skeletal muscles, the muscular tissues and the muscle cells. So you may say that a lower level of an organism or a human body is composed of molecules, and then these molecules form cell, and different types of cells make tissues, and different tissues make an organ, and different types of organs makes organ system, and then an organism. Different types of tissues are present. There are 4 major types of tissues in animals. Epithelial tissues that covers the body surface and lines the body cavities. Connective tissues that binds and supports body parts. Muscular tissues cause body parts to move, and nervous tissues respond to stimuli and transmits impulses from one body part to another one. In this picture you may see that this is an atom, and different types of atom makes a molecule of DNA. You may see the helical structure of DNA, and this DNA, that is the hereditary material, makes smooth muscle cells, and then these muscle cells makes muscle tissues, and then these muscle tissues makes urinary bladder, and then urinary bladder consisted of epithelium. This epithelium consisted of connective tissues, smooth muscle tissues, and a wall of urinary bladder, and then this urinary bladder consisted of a urinary system, that is kidney, ureter, urinary bladder, urethra, and hence this urinary system makes a baby, or you may say an organism. Different types of different types of organs makes organ system, and different organ system makes an organism, and here you may see a human being. And here you may see a cell is the structural and functional unit of life. It's a basic definition. Cell structure and function. What is meant by structure and function? Means you want to study about the structure of the body, then it will be according to its function. And a cell is a mass of protoplasm surrounded by the plasma membrane. The protoplasm is generally with a spherical nucleus and a variety of cytoplasmic tissue. Living cell organelles like the endoplasmic reticulum, mitochondria, Golgi bodies, centrioles, ribosomes, lysosomes, etc. All these you have studied previously. The mitochondria is producing energy, and mitochondria is the space where ATP formation takes place, or you may say cellular respiration takes place over here. Each cell organelles perform a specific function. So ribosomes helps in the formation of proteins. Lysosomes are known as suicidal bags. So they remove the extract of waste material and then somatic cells. These are general body cells. There are two types of cells in the body. One is somatic cell and another is germline cell that you have studies in chapter 5. Somatic cells are the body cells that makes your body and perform different types of function, while the germ cells are known as sex cells and consisted of two different types: sperm in case of male and ovum in case of female. And somatic cells responsible for all the bodily activity. For example, here you may see muscle fibers, you may see nerve cells, bone cells. These bone cells are consisted of connective tissues, and germline cells helps in the process of reproduction, and they makes the system, that is reproductive system of male and female, and overall it is known as gonads. Tissues. How you will define tissues? A group of similar cells in form, structure and embryonic region which coordinate to perform a specific function is called as simple tissues, while a group of cells different in their structure and function but coordinating to perform a specific function is called a compound tissue. Various tissues combine together in an orderly manner to form large functional unit called organs. Number of organs work in coordination and give rise to organ system. The branch of science that deals with microscopic study of tissues is called histology. Epithelial tissues. Epithelial tissues, also known as covering tissues. These tissues are present for protection. Epithelial tissues forms a continuous layer or sheet over body surfaces and most of the inner cavities. There are three types of epithelial tissues: squamous epithelium, and it is composed of flat cells. Cuboidal epithelium contains cube-shaped cells, and in columnar epithelium, the cells resembles pillars or columns because they have an oblong shape. The structure and function of epithelium is very simple. Any epithelium can be simple or stratified. Simple means that the tissue has a single layer of cells, and stratified means that the tissue layer are piled one on top of the other. Means epithelial tissues are simple or stratified. The term stratified means tissues are piled up one on the other. One type of epithelium is pseudo-stratified. It appears to be layered, but actually true layers do not exist because each cell touches a baseline. Epithelial tissues has various functions. Epithelial cells have hair-like extensions called cilia, which bend and move materials in a particular direction. In the human body, the ciliated epithelium lining the respiratory tract, that is towards the throat, so they do not enter the lungs. An epithelium sometimes secretes a product and is described as glandular. A gland can be a single epithelial cells such as the mucus secreting goblet cells in the lining of human intestine, or a gland can contain numerous cells. Exocrine glands secrete their products into ducts, and endocrine glands secrete their products directly into the bloodstream. Epithelium forms the skin of many animals. The skin of earthworm and snail is glandular, so they secrete mucus that lubricate their body, and you may see that they are having secretion on the outer surface. So this secretion or this lubrication helps to ease the movement through a dry environment. Otherwise, animals can't move from one place to another during the summer season, where lot of evaporation takes place in the atmosphere. Epithelial tissues are packed tightly and joined to one another in one of the three ways: spot junction, tight junction, and gap junctions. And these junctions are important, and this shows how they will formulate according to their function. Epithelium is often attached to the basement of membrane, which is glycoprotein reinforced by fibers supplied by an underlying connective tissue. The connective tissue helps in binding different body structure. So epithelial was the covering, while connective tissue is the binding. On binding tissues or connective tissue means that binds structures together, provides support and protection, fills spaces, stores fats, and forms blood cells. It provides the source cells for muscular and skeletal cells in animals that can regenerate lost parts. Connective tissue cells are separated widely by a matrix, a non-cellular material found between cells. Loose connective tissue and fibrous connective tissue. The cells of loose and fibrous connective tissues, called fibroblasts, are located some distance from one another and are separated by a jelly-like matrix that contains white collagen fibers and yellow elastic fibers. Collagen fibers provide flexibility and strength. Elastic fibers provide elasticity. While loose connective tissues lies beneath epithelium and the skin, and it present in lungs, arteries, and urinary bladders that allows these organs to expand. It forms a protective covering and such as muscles, blood vessels, and nerves. Adipose tissue is the best example of loose connective tissue, and it is found particularly beneath the skin, around the kidney, and on the surface of heart. It insulates the body and provides padding. Fibrous connective tissues contain many collagenous fibers that are closely packed together. The example of fibrous connective tissue is found in tendons, which connect muscles to bones, and in ligaments, which connects bones to other bones at joints. Muscular tissues. These tissues help in movement and locomotion. Muscular tissues composed of cells called muscle fibers. Muscle fibers contain actin filament and myosin filament, whose interaction accounts for the movement we associate with the animals. Nervous tissues. These tissues help in the conduction of nerve impulses. Epithelial tissues. It covers the outer surface of all the organs of the body and also lines the activity of the hollow organs of the body. And cells are arranged in one or more layers. Cells are compactly arranged, and there is no or very little intracellular material between them. Cells may originate from a primary germ layer, that is ectoderm, endoderm, and mesoderm. Cells have power of division and regeneration throughout the life. The old injured dead cells are slugged off regularly. In this picture you may see the simple and compound epithelial tissues, simple squamous epithelial tissues, simple cuboidal epithelial tissues, simple columnar, that is of two types, one is ciliated and another is non-ciliated. Simple glandular tissues, simple sensory tissues, simple germinal tissues, and compound tissues are of two types, one is stratified and another is transitional. Simple squamous epithelium, so region is present the lining of the blood vessel. It is found on the surface of the skin structure. They are thin, delicate and flat. The nucleus is centrally placed. They appear like flat tiles when viewed from the top, and they perform the filtration and diffusion of material, protection of skin from microorganisms and foreign particles. Simple cuboidal epithelium, it is generally found in the thyroid gland and the kidney. Cells are cube shaped as the name indicates. They play important role in absorption and secretion. Simple columnar epithelium, it makes the inner lining of stomach, intestine and other internal organs. The cells are tall, pillar-like with anterior free end that is broader than the posterior narrow end. Nucleus is oval or epithelial and is placed near an basal end. And the next is ciliated columnar epithelium. It is found in the upper respiratory tract and the fallopian tubes of vertebrates. These cells are tall, pillar-like, and anterior free end shows the presence of large number of thin protoplasmic extensions called cilia. These cilia helps to remove the waste material or the dust particles. Since cilia are capable of vibratory movement, they are able to remove foreign particles from the surface. Cilia helps in the movement of non-motile ovum. Non-ciliated columnar epithelium. In this diagram you may see the internal structure of small intestine. This is called villi. Villi is a finger-like projection. Here you may see the structure of villi. The microvilli are present, and the outer boundary is made up of epithelial cells, and capillary blood are present, lacteals are present, that are also known as lymph. Microvilli of epithelial cell surface may be shown, and these are without cilia at their anterior free end and hence known as non-ciliated columnar epithelium. And these protoplasmic projections known as microvilli. Microvilli help in increasing the surface area of absorption, which is the main function of non-ciliated columnar epithelium. Simple glandular epithelium. These are specialized epithelial cells capable of synthesizing substances like enzymes, hormones, sweat, oil. These secretions are carried into ducts on the surface or into the blood. The structure formed by these specialized epithelial cells is commonly called as gland. And glands are very important. Glands are further classified as endocrine glands and exocrine glands, and in class 10th you will study this topic in detail. Epithelial tissues, the review is cells are often arranged in sheets according to the shape of the cell. They are divided into different classes: squamous epithelial cells, cuboidal epithelial cells, columnar epithelial cells, and the number of layers: simple, stratified, pseudo-stratified. Depending on the epithelial type and its location, it may serve protective, absorptive, or secretory function. Epithelia cover all internal and external body surfaces. A social type of epithelium, endothelium, makes up the walls of blood and lymph vessels. The tight packing enables the epithelium to function as a barrier, protecting against mechanical injury. Free surface of epithelium is exposed to air or fluid, whereas the cells at the base are attached to the basal membrane and forms extracellular matrix. Here you may see the different types of epithelial tissues. Ciliated columnar epithelial tissue, stratified squamous epithelial tissue, simple cuboidal epithelial tissue, simple squamous epithelial tissues, and stratified columnar epithelial tissues, simple columnar epithelial, stratified multiple layers of cells, cuboidal cube shape, columnar column shape, squamous flat shape. Epithelium can be organized by the function: lining epithelium, glandular epithelium, absorb or secrete chemical solution. Glandular epithelial lining tubules are present in thyroid gland that secrete a hormone that regulates the body's rate of fuel consumption. And the next is connective tissues. Connective tissues serve as connecting function. Connective tissues made up of cells and extracellular matrix. Connective tissues perform different functions. They help in the structural support, and structural support helps with the bones, and due to the bones we can move from one place to another place. Connections, ligaments and tendon protections. Fat is present on kidney or liver or other types of tissues. Blood is considered to be connective tissue. And here one interesting thing, that blood is a connective tissue that is in liquid form. Cells provide defense and produce the supportive structure. Fibroblasts, adipocytes, macrophages, mast cells, plasma cells, all these are consisted of connective tissues. Fibers are present that give connective tissues its strength. Collagenous fibers made up of collagen, the most abundant protein in the animal kingdom. Elastic fibers, long thread made of elastin protein. It is very thin and branched that join connective tissue to adjacent tissues. Here you may see different types of tissues. First one is cartilage tissue, and then blood tissue, bones. We have discussed about the types of connective tissues, that is loose connective tissue and dense connective tissue. So you may see the common example of this tissue are cartilage that found around the ends of bones in external ear, nose, trachea. Bone and blood. The adipose tissues found around the kidney, under skin, and the abdomen is also a type of connective tissue. And these connective tissues provide energy and support to the organs. Loose connective tissue found between muscles that allows movement. It supports small blood vessels, lymphatic vessels, and nerve endings. It has abundance of cells and ground substances, but relatively few fibers. Adipose tissues is also an example of connective tissue. and it is an example of loose connective tissue. Dense connective tissue has a great proportion of fibers, fewer cells, and less ground substances than loose connective tissue. Cartilage, a form of connective tissue that is much firmer than dense connective tissue, and this cartilage is present in the nose and ear, and it entirely depends on diffusion as the source of their nutrients and oxygen. Cells of cartilage are called chondrocytes that produce collagen and other cells. Blood. Plasma consisting water, salts and dissolved proteins and different types of blood cells, that is erythrocyte, leukocytes and blood platelets. Erythrocytes are also known as red blood cells. Leukocytes are also known as white blood cells. Granulocytes and agranulocytes are two types of leukocytes. Granulocytes consisted of neutrophil, basophil, eosinophil, while agranulocyte is monocytes and lymphocytes. Here you may see different types of blood cells. Smooth muscle cells are present in this picture. This shows the skeletal muscles. Skeletal muscles helps in the movement, and skeletal muscles are attached to the bones. These cells are striated and contains many nuclei. They are responsible for the movement of bones. And then cardiac muscles. Cardiac muscles are present in the walls of heart. So they contains smooth or non-striated cells, each with a single nucleus. They are responsible for the movement of heart. So heartbeat is produced due to cardiac muscles. Skeletal muscles. Skeletal muscles comes under the voluntary control. It attached to the bones and helps to move from one place to another place. In this diagram, you are observing that bundle of muscle fiber is present and it is attached A band, I band, and this theory you may study in class 2nd year. Skeletal muscles. The cells of both cardiac and skeletal muscles show the presence of transverse striation, and they are striated in appearance, and this appearance shows the actin and myosin protein filament which utilize cellular energy and function in muscle contraction. Smooth muscles, involuntary control. There is one centrally placed nucleus per cells. Muscle tissues. Muscle tissue is one of the 4 basic tissues: skeletal muscle tissue, cardiac muscle tissue, smooth muscle tissues, and nervous tissues. Nervous tissues composed of 2 major types of cells, that is neurons and support cells. Neurons are specialized for sending signals rapidly over long distances to the other cells. Neurons have a wide variety of shapes depending on their location and function. Different parts of the neurons are specialized for different tasks. Nervous tissues can be considered either central or peripheral. And you may see that nerve cells are of different types, and these nerve cells helps our brain to perform efficiently. Nervous tissue contains nerve cells called neurons, and a single neuron is a specialized that has 3 parts. One is dendrite, another is cell body, and third is axon. Dendrites conduct impulses to the cell body, and the cell body contains most of the cytoplasm and the nucleus of the neuron, while the axon conduct impulses away from the neuron, the axon which conduct impulses away from the cell body. Long axons and dendrites are called nerve fibers, and they are bound together by connective tissue to form nerves. Neurons are specialized to detect environmental stimuli and then to conduct signal to other neurons and to the muscles or glands, thereby bringing about a coordinated response to the stimulus. In addition to neurons, the nervous tissue contains neuroglial cells, and these cells maintains the tissue by supporting and protecting neurons. They also provide nutrients to neurons and helps to keep the tissues free of debris. Now, the summary of the topic. Animal tissues consisted of 4 major categories: epithelial tissues, connective tissue, muscle tissue and nervous tissue. epithelial tissue जो हैं ये प्रेजेंट होते हैं आउटसाइड ऑफ द बॉडी एंड लाइनिंग ऑफ द ऑर्गन और कैविटीज़ पर. अब इनका फंक्शन क्या है? इनका फंक्शन ये है कि ये प्रोटेक्शन प्रोवाइड करते हैं, मूवमेंट जो है मटेरियल की जो सिक्रीशंस हैं उनको अलाउ करते हैं, और इसी वजह से हम इनको जो है डिफरेंट कैटेगरीज़ में डिवाइड करते हैं. जैसे स्क्वेमस एपिथेलियल है, क्यूबाइडल एपिथेलियम है, कोलमनर एपिथेलियम, सिलिएटेड कोलमनर एपिथेलियम और स्ट्रेटिफाइड स्क्वेमस एपिथेलियम है. अब इसमें जैसे जैसे इनके नेम्स हैं वैसे ही इनके फंक्शन जो हैं वो डिफरेंट है. अब देखें जो स्क्वेमस एपिथेलियम है ये सिंगल लेयर फ्लैट सेल्स के हैं और ये लंग्स में प्रेजेंट हैं, हार्ट और ब्लड वेसल्स में, और इन्होंने क्या करना है? मटेरियल को मूव करने में हेल्प आउट करना है. फिर क्यूबाइडल एपिथेलियम है तो इसमें सिंगल लेयर है क्यूब शेप सेल्स की, और इसमें हम कहते हैं कि जो किडनी ट्यूब्स हैं, स्मॉल ग्लैंड्स हैं, ये क्या करते हैं कि ये डिफरेंट टाइप्स की सिक्रीशंस जो है वो रिलीज़ करते हैं. और यहाँ पे सीलिया जो है वो कुछ में सेल प्रेजेंट होता है और कहीं जो है सीलिया जो है एब्सेंट होता है. तो ये सीलिया जो है ये प्रोटेक्ट करता है डिफरेंट प्रपल्शन से, और ये क्या करता है कि जो म्यूकस है उसको प्रपेल करता है. फिर स्ट्रेटिफाइड स्क्वेमस एपिथेलियम में तो ये जो है ये लाइनिंग ऑफ एसोफेगस और माउथ पे प्रेजेंट हैं, और इन्होंने क्या करना है? जो इनर पार्ट्स ऑफ द बॉडी हैं इनको प्रोटेक्ट करना है. फिर कनेक्टिव टिश्यूज़ हैं तो कनेक्टिव टिश्यू जो हैं ये क्या करते हैं कि ये सपोर्ट करते हैं और बाइंड करते हैं अदर टिश्यूज़ को, और इसकी एग्जांपल्स जो हैं हमने देखी कि हमारे पास ब्लड और बोन जो टिश्यूज़ थे वो इसमें प्रेजेंट है. फिर एडिपोज टिश्यूज़ हैं जो कि फ़ैट वगैरह जो है जो हमारी किडनी, स्किन और एब्डोमेन में प्रेजेंट होती है. फिर कनेक्टिव टिश्यूज़ जो हैं ये एनर्जी और सपोर्ट जो है ऑर्गन्स को प्रोवाइड करते हैं. फिर मसल टिश्यूज़ हैं. मसल टिश्यूज़ जो हैं ये बंडल्स ऑफ लॉन्ग सेल्स हैं जिनको हम मसल फाइबर्स भी कहते हैं, और अबंडेंट टिश्यूज़ जो हैं ये एनिमल्स में प्रेजेंट होते हैं और इनमें ये एबिलिटी होती है ये कॉन्ट्रैक्ट कर सके. तो स्केलेटल मसल्स, स्मूथ मसल्स और कार्डिक मसल्स जो हैं इनके डिफरेंट टाइप्स हैं. फिर नर्वस टिश्यूज़ की बारी आती है तो नर्वस टिश्यू जो है ये ब्रेन में प्रेजेंट होता है, स्पाइनल कॉर्ड और नर्व्स में, और इनका बेसिक फंक्शन क्या है कि ट्रांसमिट करता है इंफॉर्मेशन को अमंग ऑल पार्ट्स ऑफ द बॉडी. सो कोई भी ब्रेन को जो टास्क मिलता है तो कम्युनिकेशन जो है सिस्टम वो हमारा ब्रेन है, वहाँ से हमें मैसेज आता है, और किसके थ्रू आता है? नर्व सेल्स के थ्रू, नर्वस टिश्यूज़ के थ्रू. तो ये पूरी बॉडी में किसी भी मैसेज को, जैसे पेन परसेप्शंस हैं या आप किसी जो सिचुएशन है उससे हैंडल करने के लिए ख़ुद को रेडी करते हो, तो ये सारा कुछ जो है ये आपको नर्वस टिश्यूज़ जो हैं वो देते हैं. थैंक यू सो मच. अल्लाह हाफ़िज़.